Hello and welcome to Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexei and I'm your host. And today we've got an unusual guest. We've got someone who actually does have a business of his own, but he does have a lot of experience in sales. In fact, I think that this guy is one of those that I consider like watch this space person because he's exceptional at sales. He's got quite a story, and I think there's lots to learn from him. So please welcome Alex Shinder. How you go, man?
I'm going well. Thank you for the kind words and for having me, man.
Yeah, well, lots to tell about Alex. Alex is fairly new to Australia, and in fact, I think he's probably a couple of years away of becoming an Aussie. He's from the US, in fact, from New York, as far as I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, I worked in Manhattan. I lived in New Jersey, that
Wow.
area.
Yeah, you always in Australia hear a lot of stories about the New Yorkers got a bit of a feel. So tell us about your journey. How'd you get into sales and, a little bit about yourself? I mean, you obviously ended up in Australia and there's a bit of a story, but I don't want to take away the story and spoil it. So you tell us, mate.
Yeah, look, I actually started my career in IT. That was what I studied at university. And IT taught me how to speak with people, how to listen out for the challenges that they're experiencing with their various systems, computers, what have you. And a few of my friends were like, "Look, you have a natural knack for solving problems and talking to people, and sales could be a really good fit." And I never really got that feel until, funny enough, I saw a sales movie one Christmas and was like, "This seems like me." So, as every person trying to kind of start out their sales career, I jumped at an opportunity to be an SDR, sales development representative, at a fairly small business in New York, and started out my journey by making about 100 cold calls per day in what looked to be a closet. No CRM system, so I was literally taking notes in a notepad of who I called, what we talked about. And kind of naturally progressed to understanding, that sales wasn't really about pushing product, but understanding objectives, outcomes, and having value-driven conversations. And actually had the opportunity to close some business because the company was so small that they didn't have enough resources to take on some of the smaller opportunities. So I volunteered, and as an SDR slash BDR, I was able to close about $30,000 USD in business my first year, which was really exciting. And then, kind of the natural career progression of any sales professional. You go from SDR, BDR to maybe a team lead, and then you move on to account manager, account executive, where you're actually closing business, you're driving opportunity, you're driving those value conversations, and then getting a signature on the dotted line. And that's where I am today.
Excellent, excellent. And your story of coming to Australia, I think that's an interesting one within itself. And I think our listeners would really love to know what brought you to cold Melbourne from not so warm New York.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty wild story. I thought that I was never going to leave the East Coast of the U.S. I am a Jersey boy. I love New Jersey. I love working in Manhattan. And then, funny enough, I met an Aussie, my now wife, fell in love, head over heels, very, very quickly. She's the most amazing woman I've ever met, and actually should be in recruitment herself because recruited me from New York / New Jersey all the way to Australia. Look, we spent about 21 months apart due to the COVID restrictions and lockdowns. Fought as hard as we possibly could every day through government, through time zone differences, visa applications, all of those things. And after 21 months, finally, we're granted that visa. She came to sort of pick me up from New Jersey. I was able to take that opportunity to propose to her in Central Park. Moved to Australia in January of last year, and haven't looked back since.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome, mate. And congratulations on getting married. And I'm
Thank you.
glad it all worked out. COVID's obviously been really rough, but relationship in the middle of it, ooh, that's crazy. Well,
Persistence.
Anyway, that's exactly it. Yeah. So let's get back to our sales side of things. So tell us about your approach, your strategies, your techniques. I mean, you've closed some pretty serious figures. In fact, why don't you share with us, I guess, maybe some of your milestones or some of your records in terms of what you've been able to achieve?
Yeah, no, it's been a pretty wild ride, right? I pride myself on being the best wherever I go. I was the best SDR at the first organization I went to. I was the best at the second, right? My my ethic, I think my work ethic is really what drives my success, and I think that sales isn't for everybody. I think you have to have that mentality of you're coming to work every day and you're going to more likely than not hear a lot of no's.
Hmm.
But having that mentality of no matter what, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep striving for glory. That's where it is. As far as milestones go, my last company, I was working as a customer success associate, which is essentially driving quality meetings from current customers, current people that invested already with the company. And I understood that there was a side of the business that was kind of different. They were providing the same type of solution, but in direct data form, which means rather than logging into a platform and creating searches for the information that we provided, it was basically pushing that data directly to the businesses that we worked with in either a data feed flat file format or through API. I understood that the massive data providers played in that space and made a ton of money doing so, right? So I actually approached the director of that side of the business and said to him, look, I'm familiar with all the technical stuff that goes into these data feeds and APIs, and I really think that there's something here. And for him, it was something that he's been considering for a while. So him and I, kind of built this team out together and took it from a six-figure business to, by the time I left, I think we were at 20 million, and that was only
Wow.
within a 24-month period of time. Yeah, it was really exciting building out the team, building out the processes, understanding how to drive value in these conversations. And I think my last year, I managed to hit 200% of my quota in new business, which was super exciting. I was really proud of that. That was kind of maybe a legacy that I may have left at that company, or I hope I did at least. And now kind of striving to do similar things with regard to these numbers at my current company.
Okay. Do you want to mention some names of the companies you work with? I mean, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, sure. I mean, right now I'm an account director for new business with Salesforce. Honestly, incredibly proud to land an opportunity with such an incredible large enterprise serving so many customers around the world. Small fish in a big pond, I guess you can say. But yeah, really exciting to do work with Salesforce. Prior to that, I was with PitchBook, private market data provider in New York, headquartered over in Seattle. And yeah, kind of before that, I honestly, for some reason off the top of my head, can't remember. Oh yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Better Cloud, which is a company that essentially centralizes SaaS applications and cloud control for IT organizations.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And in relation to what you've done, I think just for our listeners to break this down for you guys, a lot of businesses have got a large customer base, and oftentimes businesses are so focused on getting those new customers, they completely forget the fact that there is a great opportunity to upsell or create something new within the business. So rather than just going in the same direction, sometimes it's really important to stop and think, which other direction can you take, and can you actually work with your current customers? In fact, I find that a lot of customers make a lot of money do this. And think of it this way. Let's say Apple's established a large database of followers, and everyone's been quite religious about Apple since day one with computers. So the moment they basically launched a iPod, straight away, those people were the initial base of people who jumped on buying the iPod because they were educated about the whole thing. And then the whole thing went viral and all the other marketing followed through as well. But I think this is what really gives a lot of brands the confidence of being able to create that initial launch to make sure that there's a market uptake on the whole thing as well. And believe me, there are awesome products out there where people just don't know how to market them and potentially don't utilize their base. Currently in my business right now, we are going through an iteration where we're looking at our existing customers and looking as to where we can help them as well. And we identified that things like email marketing are a great opportunity for businesses these days, in terms of creating new opportunities from the past interactions. In terms of sales coaching, that is a big one within itself. And unfortunately, this is one of those things that people don't specifically ask about. But when you start talking to them about their sales side of things, that's where the gaps really start to come up. So in relation to your approach to sales, you and I spoke a few times and you sort of mentioned the gap selling approach. Tell us about that and tell us about the other strategies that you normally use within your style of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly loaded question, if I'm being honest. Gap to me by Keenan is a phenomenal sales approach. I think it really drives home problem-centric selling, right? Establishing that there's a challenge at an organization and creating the gap, right? And understanding the problem from a corporate level, how it's affecting their IT, how it's affecting them personally. You know, for example, if someone is spending too much time doing something, maybe they're spending less time at home with their kids or their family. I think gap is really phenomenal, but really taking a step back and understanding that there's a lot of sales processes out there, right? There's Sandler, there's Gap, there's combo prospecting, there's looking at, you know, mega deal secrets, all these different approaches. All of them offer something really valuable to the person that's willing to absorb that information. But what I found to be really interesting is that it's not for everyone. Not everything that they write is for everyone. And what I mean by that is sales, it's a person talking to another person, right? There's a really massive human element there. So you can't look at it strictly as a science. You have to take these different tidbits that these really successful sales professionals offer you, combine them with your own personality, your own efforts, your own motivation, and really create your own style. I think every salesperson should strive for that, create their own style based on the folks that have come before you and what they've, you know, written out.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's like cooking, right? There's a recipe that you can take, and then if you know what you do, you can always perfect it over time and make it better. And that's how sometimes people end up with something completely out of this world compared to you know, what you get off the shelf. And I think for those of you want to know more about gap selling, so there's a book called The Gap Selling by Keaton, and the whole thing really talks about the simple concept, and I'm going to keep it simple for you because it can go to another level altogether, where you identify the problem and then you basically translate the features of whatever you're selling into benefits and close that problem with that. So it's really all about making sure that you address the right thing to start with, because a lot of the time when people sell, we sell quite intuitively, but we often don't understand exactly what lies underneath. I'll give you an example. A lot of people jump into getting marketing for their business, and the whole marketing side of things is really for them to keep their staff busy, to create a cash flow, to basically pay for their fees, their lifestyle, and so on, and essentially create freedom, which allows them to spend time with their kids. I'm going pretty deep and meaningful here, but essentially, if you understand that a person is really trying to let go and run a proper business, where he's got a number of people in the organization and he needs to keep them busy so he can do his own stuff, that is exactly the gap. Then from there, if you're just offering a marketing solution, oftentimes it may not be enough to close that gap, which is where you really need to make sure that you identify other things that can potentially help. And if you run an agency and you're able to provide other elements of that gap, then you're able to deliver a full-on service. Anyway, I hope that example makes sense. All right. And in terms of challenges, and look, I guess we can talk about sales techniques all day long. This is all you do anyway, and it's quite natural for you. In terms of challenges, I mean, what have been some of your challenges when it comes to selling or starting or cold calling? And look, you talk to some people about cold calling. There's like, nah, I'm not even gonna touch the phone. What have been your what challenges have you gone through?
Oh man, that's another loaded question.
Give us top three.
Look, look, there are a few, I think. And I hate to use this as an excuse because it's not, but it's a reality, right? The the market is a challenge across all industries. It's a soft market at the moment. And I think being empathetic to the fact that there are so many layoffs at the moment, everyone is doing everything in their power to be profitable, cash flow positive, increase revenue, all while dealing with the uncertainty of the economy worldwide, right? I think showing empathy in that regard is important, but that really is a challenge when it comes to selling, right? I think another challenge for me personally was transitioning from how I sold in the US, especially in New York City, to Australia. It was definitely interesting because in New York, I felt that it was a little bit more transactional. And what I mean by that is you're dealing with numbers in negotiation, right? How can I get something cheaper? How can I get a better deal? How can I get more licenses for less cost? Whereas in Australia, typically, right, that doesn't work. And it's because selling here is very relationship based. You have to really earn someone's trust. And I actually embrace that. I love that. I think you need to be completely honest and upfront when you're selling. You can hold some cards close to the chest, but for the most part, building trust is a key in any relationship, especially a sales relationship. So selling in Australia it was definitely a hurdle, right? I don't maybe want to say challenge, but definitely a hurdle. And another challenge is understanding that selling in more ways than not is a team sport. You do have to rely heavily on a lot of individuals to get a signature on the dotted line. Marketing, solutions engineers, if they need to be involved, SDRs, BDRs, specialists in their field, right? If you're a core account executive. And a lot of the times they may not be you. And that's a realization that you have to come to terms with, especially if you're someone like myself. I mean, I don't want to honk my own horn here, but I pride myself in being the best at what I do. And the people that I work with, I want them to be the best at what they do. Otherwise, you're an ineffective team and you lose. So understanding that, look, not everyone is like you. Not everyone's going to, position themselves like yourself and may not work as hard as you sometimes. So you have to kind of do the brunt of everything in some cases. I guess those are some of the tough things that I've had to deal with and maybe overcome.
Yeah. And I guess, this happens quite a lot. And I guess this is really what sets apart people who are successful from people who are mediocre. And I think you really get to choose. And I think those activities, the hard work, it really pays off over time. So, yeah, I guess, look, you said about things like economy and people talking about certain things and being let go and so on. It's really all comes down to mindset. I mean, a few weeks ago, we had a interview with Andrew and Del Grant talking about that. I mean, what's your take on the whole mindset side of things when it comes to sales and what you do? I mean, do you think it's important to sort of stay focused and believe in a certain way, not let things get in your head?
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, there's a lot of noise, always a lot of noise. And for me, my mindset and approach to sales completely shifted when I understood the meaning of curiosity, being forever curious, not only as a sales professional on the calls with some of these businesses and doing the proper discovery, but outside of that, and reading as many books as possible, specifically around business and sales, but also around psychology. I think understanding how people work and people operate gives you a really good insight into how to talk to them and how to understand them. And that's really what sales is about. You're having a conversation and maybe making a recommendation at the end of that chat. That's important. I think being incredibly disciplined is key. I think understanding when your mind operates and how. For example, first half of the day, typically the mind operates in a linear way where you're maybe better at doing some box ticking exercises, like going through your prospecting. And the second half of the day, you're a little bit more creative, right? So that's maybe when you want to have those discovery calls and have those really great conversations with your clients or your prospects. So understanding those things, being super disciplined, having a schedule, having a routine, and sticking to that routine is critical. I myself have a pretty crazy one, but it really does work for me. Being coachable, that's big. Being able to kind of shift with things as they come. Industry changes and things like that. You got to lean into it a little bit. And really, it's about having a dog mentality. I mean, being honest with yourself about why you're in sales is critical. And if anybody tells you that it's anything other than money, they're lying. I'm in sales because I want to make the most amount of money within the confines of my values and the values of whoever I'm employed by. Some of those values are honesty, being honest and with the customer and with yourself. Success, true success for the customer and for yourself. And yeah, just being an advisor, a trusted advisor for the people that you're working with. So that's kind of the things that I think about, the things that I focus on every day when I wake up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've been in sales for quite some time, and a lot of the time, quite unconsciously, I really started zooming into sales probably about 2018 or so, and really started to spend time with my clients on the whole sales coaching side of things. And interestingly enough, you start to pay attention a lot more to some of the influencers. So what's your take on the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, and his sales techniques? You being from New York, out of all people?
All right. Well, if I'm being completely honest, that's the movie that got me excited about sales.
I was going to do sell me this pen pitch, but anyway, we'll do it another day.
Maybe, yeah. No, look, at the end of the day, those are glorified versions of what a sales career could be. And ironically, it's everything that I now hate about sales, right? Because I do believe in value selling and honesty and building trust and connection with businesses that you work with. And Wolf of Wall Street clearly glorified lying to get your way and basically taking what I just said and making the most amount of money that I possibly can and taking out the values, right? It's just making as much money as you possibly can. Doesn't matter who you hurt in the process. I don't operate like that, but look, it's super entertaining. And I think Leonardo DiCaprio did an amazing job.
Yeah. Well, you really got three things there, right? So you need to have a great service, first of all, before you start doing anything. Secondly, you really need to understand how to present your product to the customer. And then third, you really need to understand what the pain points are to close it. And look, that whole movie talks about a lot of different things. I think if only the service itself was good, it'd be awesome. But maybe that wouldn't be a story behind it. But he said all the right things. When the reporter asked him, what's the strategy for the business? It's to diversify. And really, for many businesses, that is the one thing people don't do. They were getting stocks. They were selling blue chip stocks and getting a 1% commission on that, and then using those same prospects to sell them the penny stocks with a 50% commission. Now, if you think about a normal database of customers, oftentimes people deliver them a service product, but they don't really have an upsell as well. So I don't promote the whole Wolf of Wall Street lifestyle and that dilemma in any way. I am trying to get the audience to really zoom in on the value within their business that could easily be exercised. And I think if people understand a few things about sales and first of all, where the opportunities are, I think this podcast is going to give heaps of direction and recommendations to people. Awesome. Well, in terms of, your future, what are your goals? I mean, you've obviously done quite a few things. You've moved to another country, you got married, the bucket list is probably halfway through. What are your goals? Sales-wise, career-wise, personally, for the next few years?
The bucket gets bigger. That's what I'm saying. Well, look, there's funny enough, there's a quote from another sales movie. I believe it was Wall Street 2, right? Money Never Sleeps. Not the most popular, I guess, but there's a sequence where one of the sales guys asks one of the head honchos, everybody has a number, to get out. Everybody has a number where they're done. what's your number? And the guy's response is more. And I thought that was absolutely epic, because you don't want to plateau. You want to keep growing, right? So for me, I want to be able to take everything that I've learned so far, and I'm continuing to learn, and influence the growth of a business through a management, right? I'd love to run my own team. I'd love to coach. I'd love to teach, and have an impact in that regard, right? After that, it'd be great to be even higher, but as a next step, I would love to be kind of in a director role where I'm helping younger account executives or sales professionals and unlocking their potential, and then in big picture, impacting a business in their growth, right? And doing it the right way, not using anything sleazy or any sort of lying, but really doing it the right way, and hopefully influencing change.
Okay, cool. Well, look, before we go into the closing for the podcast, I thought I'd introduce something new, and I want to call this the rapid fire questions. This is where I ask you a question. I just want a really quick, concise answer, and hopefully this gives you enough time to prepare. So, favorite book?
Favorite book? Right now, Jordan Peterson, both of his books about the 12 rules.
Nice.
Those are my two favorite books.
That's a good one. Best CRM?
Come on, man. Salesforce, obviously.
Awesome. And your role model in life?
Oh, that's tough. To be honest with you, it's two people. I can't give one, but it's two people. It's my mother and my wife. They're role models for me. They're absolutely some of the strongest people I've ever met, and inspire me every day to wake up and do what I do.
Awesome. Well, man, thanks very much for finding the time to do this podcast. I think, hopefully our listeners picked up a few ideas. And I think what I like about you is you're a very real person. You're very approachable. But trust me, guys, if this guy calls you, you're about to buy something from him. So thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Watch it on YouTube if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet. Hit that little bell that will remind you of the new episodes coming up. As always, we try to feature our shows 5 p.m. Monday. So on the drive home, you get to listen to us, or maybe you want to watch us in the morning. Either way, Alex, mate, all the best in your career, and I guess we'll chat soon.
Thank you, buddy.